How do you make ads that cannot fail? Most brands look at creative like a lottery ticket. They plan for the perfect shoot, and then they shoot it, and then they launch it, and then they do this or they do this, depending on their religion of choice, and then it doesn't do well. They blame the creative and they start all over again. It's this cycle that makes ads feel like a gamble, but it's not a gamble. If you have product market fit, it should be a formula. I'm breaking down the 3-phase method that we use to make it impossible to have a failing ad. Phase 1 and 2, I'm walking you through the entire process. But phase 3 is the part that makes creating a winning ad inevitable. Before we build the system, I do have a confession to make. I've been in the ad business for a decade now, worked with the world's biggest brands, seen millions in ad spend, and even I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty whether or not an ad will work before you hit publish. In fact, sometimes an ad that I think is great doesn't do that well. An ad that I think is a throwaway ends up making 50k a day. Why am I telling you this instead of telling you that I'm an expert genius that can predict everything? Because the only source of truth is the market. And the reason why brands fail often is because they treat it like an event, a campaign that has a beginning and an end, when you should really be treating it like a scientist. What happens if I add this? What happens if I take this away? And you watch for a reaction. However, to do this effectively, you need a high velocity production engine. We've called this engine the Hyperloop, and I'm giving it all away. Here is the exact step-by-step process that we use in order to generate at least 10 ads per month. It starts with a deep extraction. We collect every bit of information about the product, every feature, every benefit, every unsexy detail. Same goes for the brand. Who do they cater to? What kind of vibe do they have? What do they stand for? Then for the first batch of 10 ads, we do competitive intelligence. What's the competition doing? Are they doing something that we could do better? Are they saying something that we could say better? Where's the creative gap? Or perhaps they're doing something that's consistently effective that we can try. Once we have our research, we'll split it into 3 sections. The hook, the meat, the CTA. We'll come up with varieties for each section. And then, by the end, we'll have a bunch of puzzle pieces that happen to fit together perfectly. Once we've done the research, it's time to plan smartly. Unlike the traditional way of doing it, which is to plan for one big ad, we take everything we found in phase 1 and turn it into components: hooks, products, and CTAs. So rather than aiming to shoot 10 separate ads, we build a system of interchangeable parts. Think of it like this: if we shoot 5 hooks, 4 meat sections, 3 CTAs, that's 60 possible combinations. Isn't that crazy? And of which we're going to choose the best ones during the editing phase. Now this is where execution matters. It needs to be done to a high standard as well as efficiently. You've got to make a super tight shot list where every angle, line, variation is mapped out beforehand. Every hook is filmed in a different way, a different visual setup, a different delivery, different pacing. Same goes for the meat and the CTA. This is the only way you can shoot everything within 1 to 2 days. And every once in a while there'll be space for liberty and creativity. And I would say that this is not one of those times. Furthermore, everything's got to be in its place. Talent is prepped, set is designed, background, lighting, wardrobe, all ready to go. All prepared meticulously and matches the feel of the brand exactly. In our case, we do this all in-house, which removes a lot of the friction and certainly speeds things up. Either way, the principle stays the same. We're aiming to build a content library, and by the end of those 1 or 2 days, we don't walk away with one big idea. We walk away with dozens of high quality building blocks that are all made to fit together in different combinations. And that is one of the main keys that allows us to test so fast. Now that all these combinations are live, it's time to make your ROAS go crazy. First, the hook. If hook A is holding people's attention while hook B is getting skipped, hook B is gone. Simple. Remember, we're not attached to anything. The market tells us what's good and what's not. Now, the meat. This is where it gets a little bit complicated for most brands because they want to say so many things. But the data typically points at one thing that people care about the most. If people seem to care more about saving time, but the viewer's attention drops when you talk about high quality materials, let's say, then the message is clear. We cut everything that doesn't hold attention. Then the CTA. What's the path of least resistance? Do people convert more when you ask them to comment, or when you ask them to click something, or just to go directly to the product purchase page? We make no assumptions here. Now here is where it becomes powerful. Once we find the perfect combination, the hook meets CTA perfectly aligned, we did it! Congratulations, time to celebrate, right? Wrong, because you might have found the perfect ad for one audience group, but the aim isn't just to make money, let's go to the next level. We take that winning structure and create variations around it. Same hook, different delivery. Same message, different visuals. Same CTA, different framing. And at the same time, we're still testing entirely new angles in parallel. So you've got two things happening at once. On one hand, you're doubling down on what worked, and on the other hand, you're still searching for a new breakthrough. That's how this stuff compounds, and you essentially make it impossible to not find the winning ad. It's a system. People don't realize this. You know what else people don't realize is a system? Is making a viral ad, which actually only requires 3 ingredients. I tell you exactly how to craft one on the video that you're seeing on the screen right now. See you there.